How to make ungodly amounts in crypto in 3 easy steps. This is my clickbait title for the day, which is essentially going to be a manual on how to maximize your gains throughout these cycles. Now, I've been involved in multiple crypto cycles now, and I've actually mostly watched everything besides Bitcoin. Now, I have gotten involved in a few other things, but for the most part, I'm just a voyeur. I'm not really actually involved. I've just been taking notes in the background. And what I have noticed is probably what you've noticed as well, is that there is potential for insane astronomical gains, like you see in the background right here by, this is actually MOG, symbol MOG, which just go up and 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 up. And these are extremely seductive, especially for getting new people into crypto. But a lot of the time, it does end up in tears. But the point of this video is to be able to identify these things in sort of 3 major criterion that you can apply in the future, and then also capitalize that on capitalize on that as well, meaning that you actually realize these gains. So this is really what we're focused on for this. Again, I have not really played a lot of these myself. I've just been watching. I've just been watching for many years now, going back to 2016, 2017. So I've seen these things from start to finish many a time, and I've noticed that there are 3 major criterion that do provide the sort of environment, the background where shit like this is possible, and we actually can take advantage of that. And yes, those gains could be real. They could be real. They could be yours as well. And moving on from there, I want to present to you, before we go on as well, the Midwit meme, which I think is just a perfect summarization of what we're going to be kind of discussing today. If you're not familiar with this meme, basically it is this. This is a bell curve of IQ score distribution. So basically kind of like your intelligence, I guess. Of course, there's other forms of intelligence. Well, yes, I understand that. But in the context of trading and investing, you probably want to be looking at your IQ. And on the left-hand side, which represents like the dumbest of the dumb, and on the right-hand side, which represents the smartest of the smart, they typically come to the same conclusions. Now, the right side of the curve is probably because they understand nuance. The left-hand side of the curve is because they are lobotomized morons who are actually incapable of thinking other way. But the actions are very similar in a lot of cases, where they will say, hey, altcoin bull market good, new altcoin good, I'm in, something like that. Whereas the midwit, which represents, usually about 68% of people, so the majority of people are overthinking things or are applying truths, but perhaps without the nuance, is actually what really differentiates them from the smartest of the smart. So the midwit will say, hey, altcoins bad, altcoins scam, they usually go down, so I'm just not going to get involved at all. That is true, but the nuance is that, in many cases, you do see these epic rallies, these like biblical rallies in altcoins. And if you are that midwit, you are going to miss out on every single one. Now, perhaps that also does save you from, just holding the bag and losing out on your investment as well. But, there can be, in my opinion, some sophisticated ways of doing this that make sense, at least. So moving on from there, let's get into the order of importance. So these are the 3 steps. These are the 3 sort of things that we're going to be looking at. First is cycle. That is what matters most. That's what allows everything else to kind of be run from. If you don't have a bull cycle, you don't have nothing. There is no amount of fundamental and news and all this sort of shit that can make up for a good bull cycle. If you don't have a bull cycle, there ain't no purpose in investing in these altcoins. Now, the next thing that we need to pay attention to is the sector. What is the hot sector for this cycle? There's always something. And then third is going to be the novelty and narrative. So that's basically like, how new is it, and what's the narrative kind of surrounding that? Narrative could even be similar to sector, but certainly novelty is very, very important as well. But it is third in the list of importance. So moving from there, let's revisit another meme. Not sure if I'm trading better or the market stopped going down. That is what we mean, or that is what we're focusing on when we talk about, of course, the cycle. So the cycle, I'm going to move my face around here a little bit more as I read through this. I'll just actually put it to the top here. There we go. It's not super important. The market cycle supersedes all of the variables in generating maximum returns. It is the most important thing. Again, if you don't have, in this case, a bull cycle, don't even fucking think about investing in altcoins. The probabilities will be significantly against you, and it's very likely that the altcoin that you're even looking for that is going to have those major returns hasn't even been born if it's not in a bull cycle. It's not the right time. Without the correct phase of the market cycle, all other conditions are either not viable or are so significantly reduced that it is irrelevant. The probabilities are against you. Don't fuck with it. That is where you can get into more issues. And that's where I'd even say that Midwit meme, if you're on the right side of the bell curve, you probably understand that nuance. The left-hand side is just like, bye. Doggy coin is going to change the world. It's true. Anyways, the optimal part of the market cycle to invest in highly speculative assets, if you even want to use the word asset, is during the bullish phase, of course. Now, very specifically during early bullish phase as well, but a bullish phase will be initiated when Bitcoin, which is essentially the major index for cryptos, switches from a downtrend to an uptrend on a higher term time frame. Minimum time frame would be a weekly for this. And of course, how to define the bullish phase? Well, we just went over that. If you want the if you want a little noob friendly way of doing it as well, you could use the 21 versus the 55 EMA. Sure, that's fine. But just generally looking at trend for the weekly time frame, that is going to be putting you in the right direction almost every time, specifically for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is not in a weekly uptrend, then it is unwise to allocate to even more speculative assets. Again, assets in quotes here, and also probably should be italicized as well. If Bitcoin ain't doing well, you shouldn't expect any other thing to really be doing well, or at least, again, the sort of high probabilistic returns that you're looking for are just unlikely if that first condition is not met. So do not worry about getting, the ultimate low of Bitcoin to allocate for altcoins. The highest returning alts will actually not be born until the Bitcoin uptrend is actually like underway. So I did mess up this little spelling right here. I apologize for that. But I think you get my point. Basically, don't fret if Bitcoin, has technically bottomed. Like, I'll bring you over to a chart here for Bitcoin. Let me just find, we can use this one right here. Sure. Let me get rid of all this. Let's actually go to Bitcoin as well. But my point is that I'm going to go over here to Bitcoin. In this current cycle, Bitcoin put in the lows in November of 2022. Don't worry if you don't get in at the actual low, or even in on the next low. What you're looking for is this uptrend right here. And the uptrend doesn't even get confirmed until you have what? Higher high and higher low. So we have, in this case, let me get rid of everything. Let me draw this out. Let me get my drawing tool. Maybe that would be good. We have a low right here. We have a high right here. This is a higher high compared to this high. So we have a higher high, and then we get a higher low right here. Okay, great. That's at the time. That's like the earliest time, which is, by the way, 4 or 5 months actually after. That's 4 or 5 months after the actual low is put in. You have time. You have plenty of time. In fact, you have typically a long, rangy area, especially, which in this case was the majority of 2023, to find those opportunities if you so desire. Anyways, going back into our presentation right here, I want to go to the next slide and just remind ourselves, of course, it's not the bull market. You really are a genius, of course. We don't need to be geniuses in a bull market. That's okay. If your ego needs you to be a genius in order to make money, cool. That's good for you, but you're making it more difficult for yourself than it really needs to be. So just remind ourselves, look, it is a bull market. We're not a genius. We just need to be able to be smart enough to recognize an uptrend. That's it. That's really it. Which doesn't take that much smarts to do. A derp in a bull market will make more money than a genius bear in a bull market. Always remember that. You could be the smartest bear of all time. You are going to not outperform. You are going to get outperformed by a fucking lobotomized moron who's a bull in a bull market, just pressing the green button. Why? Because price goes fucking up. They're on the right direction. They're on the right side of the trend. That is what matters most. Okay, next one. let me adjust my, whoops. Hey, getting ahead of myself a little bit there. Let me adjust myself a little bit more. Okay. So next thing that we need to pay attention to is the sector. Now that we've gotten the cycle down, the sector. So every market cycle, there are, one or two sectors that are significantly popular, like compared to every other sector. They are usually something newer, not always, but usually they are. And that popularity generates significant hype, not just within, the crypto, like the crypto community, but this spreads out into more mainstream. So think about NFTs, think about meme coins, think about at some point actually DeFi as well. So, in fact, I give you the example here of memes leading the 2024 market. It doesn't need to make sense, by the way. In fact, it almost even is better in many cases if it doesn't make sense, because then we all know it's fucking stupid and silly. And well, that's a level playing field in a way. So how to identify the hottest sectors? Well, number one, the sector with the most hype will be the most notable by a general higher return than the average index. Return should be compared against Bitcoin as a benchmark. So that is your index. So you're basically looking at altcoin versus Bitcoin, not altcoin versus dollar. Although, that is going to be interesting as well. You want to see a good chart there. But of course, because we're already in the right portion of the cycle with Bitcoin going up, as we went as we went over in step number one, now we should just be measuring against Bitcoin because, well, that is the index. And at the end of the day, you could just be holding Bitcoin, which is lower risk, right? Compared to these alts. Now, the sector with the most hype will typically be a new asset class. Not always. Like I said, memes in this past market cycle obviously have been around for quite some time before that. But you will notice that the memes that have performed really, really well in this current cycle, 2024, are not the ones that were in past cycles. Dogecoin, for example, has done pretty much fuck all. Hasn't even taken out its 2021 high, for example. And you'll hear stuff like this: a new paradigm. That is the fucking key word right there. New paradigm. It's a new paradigm, meaning that we need to all fucking jump in because it's going to change the world. It's going to change this or that. Maybe it does change the world later on down the road, but this is just hype for right now. Think again, NFTs in 2021 as well. It probably is a new paradigm. Like, the technology of NFTs does make a lot of sense to me in many, many ways and will change a lot of things. But at the time, it was exuberant irrationality. It wasn't really ready yet, to be fair. And the hottest sector will usually face some skepticism or criticism from the mid-curvers. Like, you'll see that a lot. It's like, well, it's just a meme, or NFTs are dumb. NFTs are dumb. It's like, the nuanced understanding of NFTs is that, okay, it's an interesting technology that does provide value, that does make a lot of sense, especially in terms of like proving ownership and whatnot. I can see that in, working in many, many ways. But like, is it ready right now, or does it need to be applied to everything? Probably not. So, so you'll see stuff like that. There will always be dissenters as well. There will always be like a strong dissenting contingent to kind of combat that. So you just want to see that there's like, there's a conversation, a heated conversation where people really fucking believe and people really don't believe, and that's what creates engagement. Actually, like, if you're if you think about it in terms of like YouTube, right? People don't necessarily care, or YouTube just wants engagement. They want people watching they want people on YouTube watching ads, really. And how do you get engagement? You get engagement when people disagree and when people are like vehemently disagreeing. And when they're vehemently disagreeing and they get like militant about it, that is where it tumbles into this massive fucking snowball. So you will see that as well. Like, of course, there's people in this past cycle with memes who are like, memes are fucking dumb. They literally have no value. It's like, yes, they have no value. This is a bug, or this is a feature, not a bug, right? So it's that misunderstanding. So of course, a few examples here. NFTs were a big one in the last cycle. Meme coins are the one in this cycle. You've seen many of these. Funnily enough, Dogecoin really did not seem to do much at all. Ethereum and DeFi, you had Ethereum ICOs back in 2018, 2017, actually. DeFi was 2020. these sort of things. And then the dogverse, yeah, there you go. The world's first chain traveling dog. That's right. It's amazing. And then the last thing, also very important, damn it, did it again. The last thing, also very important, however, but it is last in the order of operations here, meaning that the other conditions, meaning the cycle needs to be greenlit as an uptrend. And then 2, the sector also needs to be greenlit as like the hot sector, the sector with some controversy around it as well. Both of those need to be greenlit. And then we can look at novelty and narrative. Novelty refers to how new is this? How new is this? So now we need to differentiate between the old and the new. And this is where I think that prior example of doggy coin makes a lot of sense. In the 2023, 2024 bull market, if you want to call it that, let's just go back to the charts right here. We saw Bitcoin obviously go up significantly, but Doggy coin, which was a meme coin that had been around for many years prior, has done what during 2023 and 2024? It had a generally small rally from 8 cents to about 24 cents, just like a nice 3x. But again, in the grand scheme of things, this is quite small. It had about a 3x rally. Is that comparable to what something like MOG did, back here, which was a much newer one, which went all the way up in 2023 to 2024? I mean, oh my God, 20,000%. Okay, 20,000%. Literally, yes, less than a year. Fucking insane. Absolutely fucking insane. But yes, going back into it here, that perfectly illustrates a point. Newness matters. The best performing asset will be the one that's born pretty much right at the turn where Bitcoin has confirmed its uptrend, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit later, definitely not before. Or it could be a little bit before as well, but you want it later. You want it like just right after Bitcoin changes up its cycle. That's where the maximum of the maximum returns can possibly be. That's where you can maybe potentially get in to something like MOG way on over here. And then Jesus take the wheel. It does its own fucking thing, right? Anyways, as we went over, how new is it? That's the main question. Ideally born right after Bitcoin has entered into the ideal phase of the market cycle. Again, that's your weekly uptrend. And we want to avoid the old ones. If it was born before that, unlikely to have as good gains. Again, we saw with Doggy Coin, went up about 3x. It's good, but when you compare it to what was available at 20,000%, I'm going to argue that one's better. You want to be getting into the new thing rather than the old thing. And that's where, remembering that we're not here to fall in love with these altcoins. We're not really here to fall in love with anything. When you feel yourself have that pull to like not sell your favorite shitcoin, that's the sign. That's a sign that we've been drinking the Kool-Aid and we need to put it down and be objective yet again. Again, avoid the old ones. There will be overhead supply and hype will always be strongest with more potential for high returns on the newest ones. The newest, shiniest toy is the one that gets the attention. And then the narrative, of course, as well. So narrative refers to, I guess it's better done with an example, but DeFi back in 2020 will change traditional finance. We're gonna allow people to, or I don't even know what the fuck the real narrative was, but that was the sort of general narrative. It's like DeFi is going to change traditional finance, meaning that people can now do things in DeFi rather than having to do it in their bank. Okay, cool. Great. ICOs back in 2017 and 2016, they're going to democratize investing, angel investing basically, because if you're an American citizen at least, and you want to invest in, a new company that hasn't gone IPO yet, so it's like in the very initial stages, which have the most potential returns, you can't do that unless you're called something, unless if you're something called an accredited investor, which means that you have to have, I think, like 2 million net worth or something like that. So a lot of people can't qualify for that. Therefore, ICOs allow them to invest into new projects, most of them being complete fucking scams. But what happened during that time? Ethereum went to the moon. And those those new ICOs, they went to the moon as well. Almost every single one of them. NFTs in 2021, of course, revolutionizing digital ownership, and meme coins in 2023, 2024. They're fun. I don't really know what the narrative was there. I think that's what their narrative was. They're just fun. It's almost as if people just kind of collectively agreed, hey, we're going to play this game of musical chairs and let's just fucking play it. Let's roll the dice, like just complete fucking gambling. And look, if enough people buy into it, it doesn't matter if it makes sense. Like I said, it's almost as if it kind of is better if it doesn't make sense, because then we're just, the mask is off and we can just say, hey, look, we're just here to make some fucking money. We're just trying to make some fucking money. That's it. Moving on from there. Don't confuse brains with a bull market, as always, but we need to know when to dump. How do we actually realize these gains? Okay, so the most simple way of doing this is to look for daily trending lower lows, meaning that your daily trend has switched on your shitcoin, not Bitcoin, but on your shitcoin, from up to down. The Bitcoin trend and cycle will shift typically much further after those major highs were put in for many altcoins. And because these altcoins can go so high, I don't think that there's like a specific percentage that you can just say, hey, that's enough. We're out of this one. I think that looking at trend is going to be the best, the best for that. So again, this does require you to understand how to, analyze higher highs and higher lows and lower highs. We have other videos on that on this channel for you, of course, to do exactly that. Also, the crypto school link in the description below will go over much more detail on how to analyze that. But basically, when you start to get lower lows and lower highs, on your first major confirmation of like an actual lower low and lower high from trending lower lows and lower highs, that is when it's usually the beginning of the end, or at least you should be taking some profits. And maybe if the trend switches around a little bit later and Bitcoin is still in its bull cycle, you could jump back in, but you should at least realize some, because at that point, you are playing Russian roulette with those alts. But yeah, at the end of the day, we did not cover position size and anything like that, allocations and whatnot. That kind of goes outside of the bounds of this particular video, but I just want to provide, the three major things to look for in order to understand, hey, when actually is it a good time to play some of these altcoins and potentially partake in some of these amazing gains? And look, going back to what we're just talking about here with profit taking, you don't need to be perfect with this to make a shit ton of money. Was there 20,000% of gains to be had there? Yes. Do you need to make all fucking 20,000? No. Don't be that lobotomized idiot thinking that. If you even caught this one right here, it's a 4,000% move. It's ridiculous, okay? It's fucking ridiculous. If you caught another one of them right here, it's another 300% move. These things add up really fucking fast, and do not let the enemy of perfect be good enough, or whatever the fuck the saying is. I forget. My point is when you see objective signals of it actually turning around, fucking get out, turn it around yourself as well. And you can see that in this particular example, there were several instances where you could jump in and jump out, and all of these were tradable events within the context of a Bitcoin uptrend cycle. So there is money to be made here. You don't need to beat yourself up if you don't get every last little penny out of it, but even just getting some of it, that is good enough. That'll keep you, that just adds to your coffers to do more interesting and exotic stuff later. So that is where I'm going to end this video. I hope that this was in some way helpful. Let me know if you like these type of videos as well. I like producing them. It takes a little bit more effort, obviously, but I've been in this market now for a while. I've actually been in this market probably more than I've been in longer than I've been in traditional markets at this point. So, future topics, let me know if there's something that you really like to see. But with all of that said, I'd like to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.